Good evening, Don't Unfriend Me Nation, episode 447 of the Don't Unfriend Me Show. It's Red Friday. Remember, everyone deployed. My son is going for the first portion of his black belt tonight. So I got to get out, do this recording. And I was thinking, well, maybe it'd be a good idea to talk about the pink tax. You know, I've had this conversation before with y'all, but this is going to be a little bit different. The pink tax, if you're not sure what that is, it's this supposed tax that's put on and run up in the price of pink product. Now, we're going to dive into this, and this is a pretty heavy topic, and I'm going to simplify it to the best of my ability, but there's a lot of emotion involved in this, so therefore it's going to be difficult. Now, a little bit less than that, about 57% of my viewers are female, and I'm sure that's because of my dashing good looks and Adonis-like body. Well, it's just the way it's worked out. Now, some channels on Twitter, it's predominantly male. About 67% of my followership is male. And that's what this is all about, right? It's all about the numbers, because if we try to add emotion into it, well, there's going to be reasons. My self-aggrandizing behavior is going to be mixed into it, my marketing, all sorts of stuff. So if we can just try to focus on the nuts and bolts of this, I think we'll be better off. And I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of chauvinism involved, but that's okay. We're going to watch some videos together. We're going to get to it right after you hear from the Hodge twins. We'll be right back.
Hey, Hodge twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
That's right. We're talking about the pink tax tonight. My name is Matthew Spirit, and introduce myself. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show / Breaking Truth. It is episode 447, and tonight we're talking about the pink tax, men versus women, the battle of the sexes. Well, now, the battle of the 67 genders if you are a liberal, but whatever. We're going to try to break it down to the simplest form. Now, I am not a TikTok fan. I had immediate smashing success on TikTok. It was pretty awesome, to be honest with you. We literally saw my page within 72 hours go to 96,000 views. I wound up having close to 4,000 followers, and it was on track to be at 1 million followers based upon the trends within a year. That was pretty cool. I was excited. And then they banned me. Why? Well, because I talked about things they didn't like, things that make them feel icky inside. Because really, all we care about is big boobs and showing our ass crack and shaking that thing on TikTok versus having an intellectual conversation like we're going to have tonight. By the way, you can follow me at The Dumb Show across all social media or thedumbshow.com. Let's get to it with the first video that we have in regards to the pink tax. Once again, if you don't know what the pink tax is, it's simply this. It's not something the IRS does. It's not necessarily, this hidden New World Order type conspiracy theory. What it is that pink products with pink dye or pink material or pink boxes or marketing tend to be more expensive than the predominant color brand, which would be blue or green or yellow or whatever else is designed to catch the eye to spend money. Is it true? Yes, it's true. But there's reasons why it's true. Now, people immediately think, well, it's because you're a woman that you pay more. Well, no, that's not true. Just like when people say men make more money simply because they're men. Well, that's not true either. Men predominantly do higher risk-taking jobs. They have schooling more involved in the STEM academics, which usually pay a little bit more because people don't necessarily go into them. Blue collar work, crane operators, plumbers, mechanics, things like that, but also the higher end science, whether it's being a neurosurgeon or being somebody who is a neonatal nurse practitioner, might have disparity in monies, but might have the same amount of schooling, but not necessarily the same level of academia as far as a difficulty level. This is all the nuance of the pay gap, which is a completely different topic. This is about the pink tax, which is much easier to break down. Let's watch the first video, and I must warn you that some of these are based in delusion.
Hey, how much for this razor? That'll be $2. Hi, how much for this pink razor?
You'll notice another thing. Why in the hell are so many men concerned about pink razors? It's almost like racism in America and talking about reparations. It's a lot of white people who seem to be frustrated by this, and there's a hell of a lot of men who are upset about the razors. Let's go into it.
Hey, how much for this razor? That'll be $2. Hi, how much for this pink razor? That'll be $4. But you just charged the other guy $2.
All right, now, first of all, this is a complete exaggeration. I have never ever seen a disparity of, this amount of money. You're looking at a markup that's absolutely ridiculous, 200% more than the men's razor versus the women's razor. That's not what we're talking about. Usually it's a quarter, 50 cents, 75 cents, but not $2. Let's be honest with it first. Now, you might see disparity between a disposable razor, a single disposable razor versus a 5-blade Venus Mach Series 17, but that's not comparing apples and oranges, first off, which this guy is not doing.
Yeah, but this one is pink. Okay, so is it sharper? No. Does it last longer? No. So why is mine more expensive if it's the exact same thing? That's because of the pink tax. What's that? It's an extra cost that brands add to products that are pink and marketed towards women. That's kind of messed up. Why?
What's on his head? Okay, it doesn't really matter. First of all, is it sharper? Does it last longer? Well, him simply saying, no, it's the same thing doesn't necessarily lend credence to this video because that's not very scientific, is it? Simply him saying no. Well, what test did he run? Did he shave his legs for months at a time or shave his face for months at a time with these particular razors? There's really no controlled experiment here, so we have to take his word. I'll break it down for you a little bit later in the video.
Is that because brands realize that most women are willing to pay more for the exact same product if it's pink? Who even told you all this? I just follow me. How much for this razor?
Who even told you all this? Well, isn't that a great question? Here's the thing. Is it true that women are willing to spend more money if it's pink? Well, if they were, then we wouldn't be hearing about the pink tax. They would just take their drudgery and just deal with it. Of course, women aren't willing to pay more for pink tax. Let me give you an example, a quick one. I was sitting across from a director of human resources. Now, she was actually a vice president of human resources for an entire region that did $2.1 billion in sales revenue and had almost 3,000 employees. Fairly powerful woman. And she and I were talking one day, just sitting in her office, and we got along famously. She was almost as tall as I was, very powerful, pragmatic woman, and someone who I admire till this day. She simply said to me, Matthew, you understand that there's disparity in the workforce with a pay gap. And we had that conversation, and I felt that I represented myself fairly well, and we ended the conversation on an amicable level. But then she mentioned the pink tax. Matthew, I have to pay more for razors. I have to pay more for shaving cream. It's not fair simply because it's pink. And I said, well, I don't understand. If that's the truth and it's the exact same razor, well, then why don't you just buy the men's razor and forget the women's product in aisle altogether? And her comment to me was, well, that's ridiculous. They don't shave the same. And therein lies the cost-benefit analysis of why you buy the pink razor, because it's suited for you and your body. Is that not true? She didn't like that. Don't make sense. Don't make facts. Don't use logic. It's not really a good thing. But here's the problem. My wife will tell you that the razors are exactly the same and that they do shave the same. Then what is up with the price difference? We'll dive into it in a second at the end of this. Let's get into the next one. The argument that thinking about the chemicals they put in maxi pads and tampons to make us bleed longer and consume more product. Gross. I don't know why my logo keeps moving left and right. Listen, not a topic I really want to encroach upon, but there is something in your hand. I can't speak about the toxic chemicals. I understand every time I go to the bathroom and take a leak, I get to see my wife's feminine product and I read the box and there's something on there called toxic shock syndrome, TSS. It sounds terrifying. I don't want to be a woman. I have no desire. And luckily I can't be, no matter how hard I try or how many surgeries I have. What I do take issue with is that there is something in your hand that might explain some of the issues that you are having. And let's break them down. Some of the consequence of chronic alcohol consumption can include, and it looks like she's had a few glasses and probably consumes a few a day. That's just an assumption with her general disposition that seems very pissed off. Menstrual cycle irregularities, HPA axis dysregulation, infertility, early menopause, breast cancer, blood sugar irregularities, circadian rhythm disruption, depression, obesity, thyroid disorders, heart disease, osteoporosis, and liver disease are all included in consuming alcohol when it refers to your time of the month. Maybe, just maybe, yes, you should be concerned about the chemicals that are in these pads that are not even really cotton, but you should also be just as concerned with the amount that you're consuming of alcohol. Once again, you probably don't like that, but facts do that to people's feelings. The next video, one that I know a ton about, which is the retail world. Luckily, we're getting off the menstruation cycle because I don't have a lot of information, though I have heard as a man that I can elect to have one anytime I want, which might be interesting. Socks.
Pink tags. Watch this.
This lady looks like the one on Grey's Anatomy. Remember the redhead who dated McSteamy or McDreamy or both? I don't know. Anyway, yes, I had to watch it with my wife. That's my pink tax. This lady is going to make a statement, and she says these socks are less because they're boys versus these socks for girls. Let's watch the video.
Cat and Jack, low-cut socks. Size small, 5.5 to 8.5. Right? Cat and Jack, low-cut socks. Small, 5.5 to 8.5. Boys, 6.
Why does she flash so quickly onto the SKU? These are actually changed all the time, and this is a struggle. Understand that SKUs change, prices change, sales happen depending upon demographic, depending upon overall sales volume for the year or quantity on hand. These things are changed all the time, and if you ever worked in retail, it sucks. You have to print them out. You usually change them on a Saturday evening for a Sunday ad circular. It's horrible, but the one thing I know is I can read them like the Matrix. I am the Neo of SKU placement, and also when it comes to weights and measures. Weights and measures, they actually review to ensure that the product's in the right place, that there's not price disparities that are unrealistic, and you can be fined a huge amount of money if you have a certain amount of your store that is priced incorrectly or it's put in the wrong place. In this situation, we have two things. One is that the product is put in the wrong place and it's staged ineffectively. And second, whoever put it there by mistake, and the product that was there is no longer being represented. Luckily, because I know my job and how good I am at it, I found the product and we'll go ahead and show that this lady's wrong. Let's finish.
$99. Girls, $7.99.
Well, I guess that solves it, folks. There's a pink tax, except that it's not the same product. If you go ahead and take a look, that product is most assuredly the one that's actually staged to the right of it. And yes, the SKUs do say $6.99 and $7.99. However, if you take a look at the overall number underneath, which is the SKU 036058817, and then subsequently look at the same SKU over here, which we will see if you zoom in, is... survey says this SKU, which is the small sock by Cat and Jack, and there's 10 of them, except these are in color, which obviously would explain why they are a little bit more, because the dyes and the pigmentation cost more. Pretty simple, if you ask me, and I could see she makes the mistake. It happens all the time as Karens go to the counter and say, well, that's not the price it was. Actually, I've taken a photo, or why don't you walk back with me for $1? Well, guess what? It happens every single day in the retail world. But she's wrong. Let's go to the next one.
Can someone explain this to me? Because I am genuinely confused.
Yes, you're genuinely confused, and I can explain it to you. I am the manager of the store. Immediately, the first thing I see is you are in the girls/boys section, which has actually been done because of equality reasons. We can't have separate sections anymore. So yes, the boys' toys have to be mixed with the girls' toys. Why? Because we have 67 genders, and it all has to be fair. That's the first thing I recognize.
Toy aisle at Walmart, and look what I found. Here we go, a Leapfrog 2-in-1 Leap Top Touch. It's green.
The Leapfrog toys, they're fantastic. They usually start at 3 months old and go all the way to 3 to 5 years of age. They're amazing. I've owned a shit ton of them. Why? Because my kids love them. The one thing I know about the Leapfrog toys, 2-in-1s, or any of their line is that they are all renowned for their green colors. Hence, frogs are green. No, frogs can't be pink if they want to. They can't be blue. Well, some can, but they're usually poisonous. But the general everyday run-of-the-mill frog is most assuredly green or a brownish green color. And Leapfrog has piggybacked off the Kermit line of toys, which were very popular with the Muppets, and created this green color. Everyone goes ahead and knows that who's a little bit older than, 40 years old. Kermit the Frog, very popular. Well, this green color is synonymous with their brand. And if you're going to ask them to change their brand, it's probably going to cost you a little more money because it's not the norm. Therefore, sales will decline. They won't be as much because the renowned color of green is not associated with Leap Top or Leapfrog toys. So if you want to have a gender equality neutral color like pink and make sure that girls feel included, because honestly, if you actually look at the sales numbers, little boys tend to purchase this type of stuff and girls tend to purchase more along the line of outward communication, maybe writing and stationery or something to that effect. Boys tend to have something a little bit more button pushy and bells and whistles, and the marketing's different. And if you don't believe me, when you actually scan the photo and video of this in the still images, you can see all the green products staged around this one solitary pink product. That could probably explain why the price is different.
Right next to it, Leap Top 2-in-1, Leap Top Touch. Exact same thing, different colors though. One is pink and purple, one is blue and green. So tell me why the blue and green one is $19.88 and the pink one is $24.84.
I just did. That's what happens when you have to mix boys and girls toys and make special product lines that don't sell as well and are off-brand. If anyone doesn't believe me, go try to find a box of Wheaties that isn't orange, that has Wheaties across. You might find Toasties. You might find non-wheat GMO product in the generic box, and you will see a different price because the brand is not the same. The last one is going to be the heaviest part of the video. We are going back to the shaving conversation, which I touched on with one of my former bosses and also the first video. This one, honestly, has a little bit of drama into it, like most of these do, but a whole lot of fact, something that I've been saying, and this lady has cracked the code. Listen here.
If you're a girl, you have to be aware of this. Personal care products are expensive. They're even more because you're a girl.
Yes, where we go with the drama part. No, they're not more expensive because they're a girl, but they are more expensive. And the reason why is that if you go in to look at the deodorant section for men, it usually is half the aisle and very difficult to find. If you go look at the female deodorant section, there's 17 aisles and 175 different choices, which means that the competition is a lot higher. Advertising and marketing dollars are going to be easier because there's less competition for men because there's only so many alpine snow and Arctic forest scents that you can buy. But with women, you have 175 different million choices: lavender, lilac, purple fuchsia, orange citrus. I mean, it goes on forever. It sounds like I'm in a Febreze aisle. Therefore, the marketing to a woman will be more difficult. Therefore, you will pay more because you're harder to sell because you can't just choose the same damn thing. And anybody who is a man who's been with a woman in Target and says, I'm going to go get my deodorant 17 to 25 minutes later with a whole giant armful of crap, you might have her pick out her deodorant. But usually what happens is she puts all those items in the cart and goes, oh, damn, I forgot my deodorant. Welcome to being the men with their pink tax. But listen to the rest of this.
Oh, who are you? I'm the pink tax. What in the world is that? I'm the extra amount of money that women pay for stuff over men. That's a thing? Yeah, girlfriend. Products targeted for women are generally 7% more expensive than ones targeted for men.
There's the key word, targeted, hence marketing.
So what can I do about it? Just buy the men's stuff. It's the same product, just not pink. Thanks. I'm following Addison Jarman for all the money hacks.
Way to bottle it up and actually make a lot of sense. Logic and reasoning. Listen, a lot of this is jest. A lot of this is tongue in cheek. I understand. The whole thing when it comes to retail can be extremely confusing, but there's so many things behind this thing. Shipping cost. Also look at Leapfrog. The standard green one, women and our boys and girls both buy the same one. They sell out faster than the pink. That's why they stocked more, and the pink doesn't sell as much. So you can sit here and say, oh, it's just some sort of sexist trope. What it really comes down to is what's more cost effective for that retailer, because every single square foot has a dollar amount associated with it. It's just like tickets at a concert. The closer you get, the more expensive it is. Well, the closer you get to the entrance, the more expensive your items are. The further you get to the back, the lower the PPE or the square footage cost actually is, unless you're in an Apple store or a Tiffany store, which the exception is that every square foot is usually about the same because they're high-end retailers. But this is a completely different conversation. Let's go into the shaving thing because it's really, really important. Obviously, the average woman shaves her legs 2 to 3 times a week. Let's say just 3. I'll give you the extra day. And let's say men shave every single day, which most of us do except for the weekends. Women on average shave 7 times more surface area than a men, because of armpits, legs, and the female area, and most men aren't kind enough to go ahead and trim the twigs and berries. Well, not me, folks. I'm a very considerate man. So let's break that down into numbers. Men shave every day and reach the same frequency as women on every 3rd day. So in a month, women shave 10 times and men shave 22 times because no man shaves on the weekend. And if they do, they just aren't men. The ratio to proportion would be 70 times versus 22 for amount of area covered. So 70 times the area versus 22 times the area for a man. For a man to reach the same amount of area that a woman covers with shaving, a man would have to actually shave 154 times before the woman stops shaving. If we want to make even more comparison with other products, we would have to look at how often a man changes his razor and a woman changes hers. My wife uses men's razors, so she's used women's razors before, but she gets 5 uses no matter which side she uses. I tend to get about 21 to 30 uses before I notice burn, but I shave very little of my face because of my beard. So let's assume every 14 days, which is pretty high, but at last it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So overall, if we do the math yet again, based on the size and use, it breaks down to about 23% increase in productivity from what a man buys versus what a woman buys. And you have to take into account sensitivity of the face versus legs and armpits. Maybe your razor could go a little bit longer because of that sensitivity. The amount of shaving cream you use, all of these things, lubricants that you put on, a preconditioner, all these things play a part and really have nothing to do with the conversation. But the density of thick versus thin hair does. But this is a general calculation, folks. This isn't MIT, for God's sakes. Men spend more money on grooming products than women, and it's more expensive to have a beard than to be clean shaven. And I know that sounds crazy. Well, you shave more, yes. But the gels and the combs and the irons and the scissors and the constant trimming, on average, men spend $42 per month on products like razors and shaving cream, while women spend $32.76, so $32.76. If this model holds true and deducting that 23%. So if 23% increase holds true, this is what it means in general terms from productivity standpoint and not price. The average box of men's flakes, cereal, would be 1.25 pounds. And a box of women's flakes would be 1.5 pounds, the added value of productivity. How about average men's electric vehicles like Teslas or whatever? Well, they would get 267 miles per charge. The Pink Mobile would get 322 miles per charge. How about the average man gets sex 54 times a year? And that means a woman would get 65.2 times a year. But with whom, in addition to her husband, I'm not here to say, that's really up for you to find with marriage counseling. A male child born in the United States today will live to 74.5 years old on average. This puts the male citizens of the U.S. in 46th place in ranking. On average, U.S. women are 5.7 years older, averaging and reaching an age of 80.2 years. But with our new calculation, it would mean 18.4 more years of life for women at a whopping 96.2 years old. And think about how much more sex that would mean overall. A person could go crazy doing this. And folks, that's really the point. Once upon a time, in a world not so different from our own, there lived men and women who went about their daily lives in peace and harmony. They worked hard, they loved deeply, and faced challenges just like anyone else. And though there were certainly instances of inequality and unfairness when it came down to it, life was overall fair for both men and women. Some might argue that historically women have faced greater obstacles than men in many areas of life. From being denied the right to vote to being paid less for the same work, women have had to fight hard for the same opportunities and freedoms that men often take for granted. And while these issues are certainly important to address and work towards solving, it's important to recognize the progress that has been made in recent decades. Today, women are CEOs, doctors, engineers, and politicians. They are entrepreneurs and athletes and artists. They have the freedom to make their own choices about their lives, whether that means pursuing a career, raising a family, or some combination of the two. And while there may still be biases and prejudices that women face in certain fields or industries, overall, the world is becoming a more equal place, well, at least in the United States. Of course, men face their own challenges as well. They may be expected to conform to certain gender roles or stereotypes, or they may struggle with mental health issues or societal pressures to always be strong and independent. They may be asked to die in a distant land before women, or take on higher levels of workload when it comes to financial or economic burden within the family. But just as women are breaking down barriers and stereotypes, men are also finding new ways to express themselves and find fulfillment in their lives by embracing their inner beta. And so, while life may not always be easier in our story for either men or women, it is overall fair. And each person has the opportunity to make their own choices and chart their own path in life regardless of their gender, no matter how many of them there are. And as we continue to work towards greater equality and understanding, the world will only become a better place for all of us. That is, if we could stop breaking each other down to the lowest common denominator and assuming that by looking at a few numbers, that the disparities and similarities make up the greater whole. Oh, I gotta go. It's my allotted time to have sex. It's great being a man. Folks, thanks for watching the show tonight. I hope you found it amusing and somewhat entertaining and educational, because that's what it's all about. And if you think that I am a knuckle-dragging, predominantly toxic masculine male, you can put that in the comments below. And honestly, it'll just make me worse because I'm too shallow, callow, and weak-willed to care. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. You can find me 8:30 live Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We will be live tonight for Red Friday. We're very excited to have Leroy and Amy on. Please join us. Come on by and say hello. And you can find our recorded show Monday through Friday on thedumbshow.com. And you can find me across social media and podcasts at The Dumb Show. Stop by, say hello, and let me know what you think. Folks, we go out with the Veteran Crisis Hotline every single time we have a show. And the reason we do that is because we care about mental health with veterans. Please, if you could share this number that you hear in this commercial, it would mean a great deal. Just take 30 seconds and watch. And I will see you next time on the Don't Unfriend Me /Breaking Truth show. Good night and have a great weekend.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important, you are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call